don't funk with racism. We don't funk with people who don't support the LGBTQ plus community. And baby, we damn sure don't funk with anybody who don't love a beautiful black queen, baby. You see this tape.
You don't let nobody act black and then go home and be white.
It only takes a little bit of white brainwash to activate the coon chip in the average Negro.
And a lot of white folk have demonstrated eloquently that they don't have no sense.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Afrocentric Podcast. My name is Morgan Gray, and this week we will be discussing the Snow Bunny crisis. So throughout his time in the media, Dr. Umar Johnson is probably best known for his advocacy against interracial relationships. The Snow Bunny crisis, a phrase coined by Johnson, brings awareness to the climbing rate of African Americans, mostly black men, who choose to date outside of their race, as well as the potential threats of dangers black partners are placed in while navigating through non-black spaces. This episode depicts the dating world within the black community through the eyes of black women, mainly focusing on the influx in interracial dating in America, whether or not my guest, Kymara D, Sneed, believes in interracial dating marriage is problematic. So if you like this podcast, make sure you are following, sharing, and leaving a review.
I will be coming out with a Snow Bunny Crisis Therapy Manual for black males. I'm working on a Snow Bunny Crisis Self-Treatment Manual for black males. I'm working on a Snow Bunny Crisis Self-Treatment Manual for black men to help brothers who are suffering with the Snow Bunny Crisis to free themselves from the mayonnaise.
All right. Now it's time to move on to the introduction of the speaker, Miss Kymara D, Sneed, who I will be referring to as Key, y'all, is a PhD candidate in Mississippi State University. Her area of study is 20th century African American study with a specific focus on agricultural extension work. Her research analyzes the intersections of race, gender, and politics within the cooperative extension service and the USDA youth extension work to not only enforce Jim Crow era policies in rural black communities, but to subjugate their black extension agents as well. So without a further ado, I would like to introduce you guys to Kay.
Hello, y'all.
Hey, Kay.
Hey, how are you?
I'm blessed and highly tailored, highly favored.
Well, I can't complain about that.
This is so sweet. I'm happy to have you. I'm ready to go ahead and divulge in this succulent topic because, well, the girls and the gays and the days, I believe they're going to understand where we're coming from, but the boys, they going to be mad about it.
Well, they're going to have to be mad today, so
let's get on in it. So the first question is, what is the Snow Bunny crisis? So earlier I've coined my own summary for what I would consider Dr. Umar is calling the Snow Bunny crisis. So to me, the Snow Bunny crisis brings awareness to the climbing rate of African American people, mostly black men, who choose to date interracially, and the potential threats and dangers that black partners face while navigating through those white dating areas. And ironically enough, Dr. Umar argues that the Snow Bunny crisis could cost you your life. Would you have any inkling or idea as to how the Snow Bunny crisis could cause one their life?
Well, I think it could be a number of things, right? I think that the way that some black men treat black women, they think it would be acceptable to treat white women that way, not knowing that, a lot of racial attitudes towards interracial relationships, especially in regards to Black men and white women, still persist today. And so the same violence that they might heap upon Black women does not translate well when it comes to white women. And so that puts them at risk of ending their lives, of getting, of losing their lives. There's also, especially with celebrities or some celebrities or some athletes, what have you, they think that, they think that, they are infallible. And so, hey, you mess up with a white woman, there goes your livelihood. So they can go and they can take you for everything in court. If you guys are in a committed partnership and there's marriage involved, there's children involved, there's finances involved, well, there goes your livelihood. I think there could be a number of things. So,
you know what? And if you don't want to take her word for it, well, we can just go argue with the statistics. So, research from the United States and Canada suggests that interracial relationships tend to have an elevated prevalence of intimate partner violence. In fact, interracial marriages have the highest divorce rates. One consistent finding of this research is that gender is significantly related to divorce risk. Interracial marriages involving a white woman have a higher risk of divorce as compared to interracial marriages involving Asian or Black women. Okay, so I think that especially now with the boom of social media, we are starting to really see the violence in between like interracial relationships. I know most recently a lot of people have been talking about that relationship with the Black man. Well, he was Nigerian, and his white partner who was a social media influencer. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Was this in was it Florida?
Yes, it was.
And she killed him.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to figure. And last I remember, they were trying to figure out what was the lead up to it. And I felt like there were a lot of excuses being made for her.
There were. So let me just go ahead and give some background to those who have no clue what I'm talking about. There was a particular story of an interracial couple out in Florida, and they had been dating for years now. Before this Black man was murdered by this white woman, he was known for being extremely racist towards Black women, African American women. In fact, it was cited several times on his social media blogs, him being racist towards African American women who were in his politics and law classes because he was in law school. So, ironically enough, the snow bunny that he cherished so much ended up, number one, being physically violent towards him. They have multiple records of his friends coming out saying that his white girlfriend had been beating on him several times throughout their relationships, and she took his life. I believe she stabbed him at least 13 times, and she walked free the next day. But let me tell you what I do love for us. I love the fact that as Black women, we came together, and instead of supporting and rallying him, we stood together and decided not to advocate for him at all, because that needs to serve as a warning that if you're putting down Black women, you don't deserve representation. Where's the representation from your Black male community? You know what I'm saying? Like, where are Black men when other Black men are killed? They're not rallying. They weren't out. Nobody said anything, and that's why no one knows anything.
I do think it's interesting, though. I'm thinking of this one example. I don't know if you heard about it, because apparently they like to blast them on Twitter for Thanksgiving. So there was this one Black man who released. He called himself appealing to Black women, and he pretty much talked about how he's married to a white woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say for the past, maybe. I don't know if it's still ongoing, but I know a couple years back he was talking about how he would go to his in-laws for Thanksgiving, and he'd eat his Thanksgiving dinner in the car while his wife was eating it in the house with her family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you remember? So you know what I'm talking about?
No, but I know the situation because every black person knows that situation where we know that we don't eat over at the white houses.
And he was he was appealing to black women. And I think for the most part, he was getting dragged by it. He was getting dragged by them. And I'm just like, well, first of all, I don't know what you want us to say because, well, you chose to marry her. The red flags were probably there, way before you decided to say I do. So I don't know what you expect from us now. Now, granted, I don't think you should be going through that. Most definitely not. And I do think your wife deserves a side eye because she's allowing that to happen. So, but at the end of the day, I'm just like, I don't know what you expect from us.
I guess as a black woman, I'm supposed to pop up with a bottle and slap your mama and just come season everything.
Right. And I'm just like, I don't know why you would take that. Personally, if my wife was going to do that and let them call me all kinds of N-words and let me eat their food in the car, I would just leave her there. I'd be like, well, you can enjoy her food 25/8 while I'm chilling at the house.
I bet Reverend Simone is going through that right now with her white wife.
She married a white wife.
She a white wife herself. She said she's not black.
She's not African. I'm not African American.
They was dragging her white wife, and this is completely off topic, but her white wife got on Kevin Samuel internet with some box braids, honey. So the girls and the gays and the days, they said, Miss Raven, why is you letting your white wife walking around with them dookie braids hanging off her thin little hair? So they had said, Raven got on the internet and said, I don't understand why y'all have such a problem. It's just hair. There's no race on hair. Now, recently, in the past, she had already said that she not black. And we do not claim her. We don't want Raven in our community.
No, Raven, that's a lie.
And that is so whitewashed.
Raven, that's a lie. I'm just going to say it right here, right now. Raven. There is a question of race. There is the question of race when it comes to hair. We have gone through moments where we have been dehumanized because of the styles that we've worn in our hair. Non-black people have given us, have just thought about stereotypes based off of, oh, well, if she wears a wig, she must be ghetto, or if she wears a wig, she has no edges, or she just has no hair at all. I'm just like, no. I mean, if it's not about race, why are we fighting to have to wear natural hair in the workforce?
Ooh.
Why are we? Yeah, like why are we fighting to wear our natural hair in the workforce? Why
little girls getting suspended from school because their natural hair is quote unquote a distraction?
It's not a distraction. It's not a distraction. You just wish you could rock the styles that we wear. Mm-hmm. I don't get it, Jesus.
Well, fix it, Lord.
The snow bunny crisis can cost you your life.
Question number 2. Why do you believe that black men end up dating white women?
So black men date white women because I think they believe they could get away with stuff with white women that they can't with black women.
Go deeper into that.
I think that they can be the head of the household without being held accountable. Mm-hmm. I think that they feel as if they could abuse white women in a way that they can't with black women. Mm-hmm. I think that they can exert their dominance, quote unquote, on white women or feel dominant with white women in a way that they can't with black women. And I think for them, like I said, I think that there's just this proximity to whiteness. I think they want to experience whiteness as close as they could possibly get. And so I think they do it by living vicariously through white women and being in an interracial relationship with them.
I think that is an excellent point. So I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit more about proximity to whiteness. So The phrase proximity to whiteness describes access to certain forms of power, resources, as well as social, economic, and cultural capital that have been historically constructed to advantage white people in this country at the expense of people of color, generally Black and Indigenous Americans in particular. Now, when it comes to this proximity of color, I want to introduce this idea to you. And the idea is that Black men protect and date white women because they see themselves in them. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I mean when I say
that? I think I have an inkling about what you're talking about, but you can go ahead and explain it.
Okay, so essentially, when I say that Black men see themselves inside of white women, is based on the proximity to whiteness, because white women are looking to proximity to Blackness, to race, as well as masculinity, and Black men are looking for that proximity to whiteness. So they're seeing each other, they're seeing the needs of one another, they're seeing where they both can help and utilize each other. Okay, that makes sense, does it not?
So what I'm getting is they see themselves as victims of circumstance.
Yes.
And so they use each other to
get closer to whiteness
and to work around those. I guess my question is, but how are they victims of circumstance though? I mean, but how are they victims of circumstance though? Because I'm trying to wrap my mind around this. I mean, in many ways, we could say that, in many ways, we could see Black men as we as being what they hold the power, right? Or they should hold the power. Some of them
let me
hold the power in the Black community, right?
Yes.
And so how do we? I can't write my. Okay, go ahead.
Let me give you an example, okay? So, this example that I want to provide with you guys is an example that involves Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart. So, although it's not a sexual relationship, it's still a relationship between a Black man and a white woman. So, on September 24th, 2019, Snoop Dogg got on Instagram and he posted a picture contrasting Martha Stewart to the rapper Tekashi 6ix9ine, and he was talking about the idea of no snitching. Okay, so what Snoop said was, as we watch Tekashi 6ix9ine, or whatever his name is, snitch on everybody, I invite you all to remember Martha Stewart snitched on no one. So snitched on not one soul during her trial. Baby girl kept it 10 toes down and ate that prison sentence by herself like the true baddie she is. Okay, so Snoop's comments speak not of some romantic or sexual fixation, but the privilege which he and Stewart share. So essentially, that's what they see in each other. They see the privilege that they both share, both hinging on their relationship with capital wealth, to either to be equated with charges, as in Snoop's 1995 through 1996 murder case, or being given a generously reduced sentence, as with Stewart's 2004 5-month fraud-related sentence. The bottom line is Snoop sees in Stewart, as many Black men see in many white women, his own face. Snoop is a white woman, and insofar as white women want to be white men, as Black men can be, as many are, white women. But white women are not, nor can be Black men, because Blackness is not inequal to whiteness, never the opposite.
I think, have you read The Romance of the Outsider?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I think I actually messed that book up. A Nation of Outsiders, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you probably read it this semester. That book really talks about how especially when it came to the civil rights movement, how blackness was used as a form, or how appropriating blackness or how appropriating the civil rights movement was seen as romantic, quote unquote, romantic towards white America. And so, in many ways, they used that as a way. They used blackness. They used what they deemed outside as being outside of the status quo as a way to rebel against societal norms. I'm really simplifying it, but once you read it, you're going to see what I'm talking about. But
I mean, you can see that though, especially like in the music stages, when they were first integrating like music halls and concerts and stuff, and how these white women would swoon over the black artists and how they would cross the color line, like physically cross it, and would be overly sexualized black men in their black bodies. So I could see that.
And then there's also, I believe, Wages of Whiteness that talks about it too. I think it's Wages of Whiteness. Don't hold me to it. But there was a book that I read in class a couple years back, and they talked about how black minstrelsy was used as a way to rebel against the status quo. So because you're essentially in blackface, and blackness is inconsequential to whiteness, blackface minstrelsy was a way to criticize societal issues or societal causes or societal norms without being held accountable, as you would say if you were a white woman or a white man, or if you were outside of blackface. So I think that there is an appeal to it that you talk about, so that dynamic with black men and white women. There is an appeal to it. And it street cred is the first thing that comes to mind. And so it allows them to blur that color line. And to talk about Martha Stewart, another example would be after the Roe v. Wade case was overturned by the Supreme Court, right? And you saw all this pushback against Clarence Thomas. And so that comment that she made on, I believe, Instagram, where she talked about how Clarence Thomas was a black man who didn't know his place. And so that's also one example where you see, like, you see how that proximity to blackness, she felt, gave her
the right to be able to say and comment on that man.
Well, not just that, but just the right to comment the way that she did, because it just smacked of paternalism, not paternalism, but it just smacked of just racism, like old antebellum racism. And I'm just like, hold up. Now, granted, Uncle Thomas, Clarence Thomas is
a coon
of the highest order, right? Yes.
Big Daddy Uncle Tom.
But that's not your place to say that, right?
Yep.
That's not your place to say that. And I think that also speaks to how a lot of black men, I won't say a lot, some black men in interracial relationships give their wives give their wives, girlfriends, what have you,
proximity to blackness.
Yes. So
and
we
will talk about that more in the next question.
Yes. Okay. We can go ahead and do it then.
Okay. So what I did want to bring up before we ended it was another reason why I felt like black men end up dating white women is because of the unhealthy relationships that they have with their black mothers, as well as like the black community as a whole. So I wanted to talk about the Willie Lynch letter. So the Willie Lynch letter was constructed by other slave owners on it instructed them and narrated them on how to keep their slaves in line through brutal, diverse tactics that would control them mentally for hundreds of years. So the Willie Lynch letter shows how to break the spirits of enslaved men and women. So focus on this. Enslaved women learned how to protect their sons and their men, and subsequently teaching their daughters how to be strong. So a lot of times Black women felt like their mothers did not support them and did not love them. And on the other hand, adult sons feel like they can always go to their mothers. Their mother seems like, in many cases, like their woman, like their wife or the girlfriend. And the sons do things for their mothers that they would never do for their woman. And there's often a challenge between the mother and son relationship. And the whole reason why I'm bringing up this unhealthy relationship dynamic between Black mothers and Black sons is because in many cases, Black mothers fail to hold their Black sons accountable. And Black mothers in some cases don't raise their Black sons in environments that positively promote Black womanhood, Black girlhood, or Black unity as a whole. So because they're missing that lack of relationship with their mothers, they are unconsciously projecting their hatred towards Black women, towards other Black women, and they're holding white women to a higher standard. Okay, so this goes back to mothers coddling Black boys but forcibly raising Black girls. So they control the behavior of their daughters, and they often use validation and support with their sons. And as a result, this can be a result of it. And it's really scary and it's really dangerous.
And I think we also need to hold the mothers accountable.
Yes,
who encourage them to date outside their race. I think we also need to hold the mothers accountable for those who tend to, I want to say, make their sons their husbands.
Oh yes, that emotional incest.
Yeah,
I think you can see that with Blueface. Blueface and his mama. For real. Just think about this. Just think about it. Although Blueface is not dating outside of his race, look at the way he treat Krishan.
Mm-hmm.
That is, if that's not an example of a Black man projecting his hatred towards Black women, onto his girlfriend or the person he's supposed to love, I don't know a better example. It's bad. And Krishan and both Blueface both say that there's some type of emotional incest relationship going on in their relationship where his mom is looking at him for validation and support and love that she can't find in another spouse or party.
And I think that they also I think that there are also some Black moms out there who push out this narrative that no girl is good for my son. Good enough. And so, and the majority of that is and majority of them, his crushes could very well be Black women. And so they're like, well, they're not good enough for my sons. Well, if these Black women aren't good enough for me, then maybe, white women are, so I mean, that's just, I'm just throwing that out there, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I think we do need to hold accountable some of the Black mothers who push their sons towards dating outside of their race, be it unintentionally or intentionally.
And let's just talk about the results of all these things. So because of all these things, the unhealthy relationships with Black men and their mothers, as well as the need or want for proximity to whiteness amongst Black men are almost 3 times as likely to marry someone of another race as Black women are. In fact, the 2000 U.S. Census data finds a similar pattern amongst interracial relationships and marriages. So among Black-white marriages, 73% had a Black husband and a white wife. And along white and Asian marriages, 75% had a white husband and an Asian wife. Even more pronounced pattern emerged in Asian and Black marriages, in which 86% had a Black husband and an Asian wife. So again, Black men are 3 times as likely to go marry outside of the race. And according to Dr. Umar, as well as a lot of other Black people, it is a problem.
Yes, and I also think that they also do it because it's a case of that, one bad apple spoils the bunch, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever experience they may have had with one Black woman, they attribute that entire experience to all Black women. And so we always talk about how Black people are not a monolith. Black women are not a monolith. And so, interestingly enough, I think that in some cases there probably are some Black men in interracial relationships who do want to date Black women, but I think that they have been so, I won't say desensitized. I think that they have been so, I won't even say traumatized, because I think that's
they
too
are
harsh
traumatized
a
because
word.
the truth is those groups of Black men are the Black men that were rejected by Black women. They were too strange, they were too outputting, and it wasn't because they were super nerds or super geeks, but it was something morally that the Black woman picked up on and didn't want to deal with it.
Right. And so I think that there are some Black men out there in interracial relationships who do want to date Black women, but I think that they've been so traumatized by it that they go outside of their race. But interestingly enough, and I'm quite sure we're going to talk about it later on, they have no issues with their non-Black partner not being so close to Blackness so much as they are appropriating Black culture.
They are, and we are going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it, my God. All right, you guys, question number 3. It reads, in regards to white women that date outside of their race, why do you believe they date Black men?
I think that they find the notion of Blackness very appealing. And I also think they're very interested in exploring that BBC myth, right?
Come on, because you done popped up. First we're going to talk about the proximity to Blackness, and then we're going to talk about the hypersexuality of the Black man. Okay, because yes, boom and boom. So what's the first topic did I just say we was going to talk about?
We could talk about that proximity to Blackness, because we've been talking about it
forever. Because it is such a shame, like, to see how much white women are truly envious of Black women, and it goes so far that they will utilize and use and manipulate and weaponize Black men just so that they can have what they can't socially have, which is the proximity to Blackness, because they will never be Black. So what do? They think just because they date Black men, they have a free pass to say the N-word, to wear box braids and wigs and them goddamn baby hairs slapped upside their forehead. Like, they want to be able to use slang and AAV. They want to be able to do whatever it is, and they feel like they can because they have just gained that proximity to Blackness through Black men.
And I think because Black culture is so prevalent in today's society, we also see this. We're kind of going off topic here, right? But because there is such a proximity to Blackness, because Black culture is very prevalent in today's society, we're seeing kind of this blur, right? Because one thing, I love my brethren and sistren, but one thing we need to do, we need to police. We need not police so much as gatekeep. We need to gatekeep our culture. I don't understand why people are saying that Avi online is Gen Z slang or Twitter or online culture. And it's like, no.
Or they be trying to say that AAV is gay slang too, especially like in the white gay culture.
And it's funny because it's like sometimes they'll use slang that we've been using for like the past 10, 20, 30 years. Like, I remember when Bye Felicia got really popular in like the early 20-teens and early to mid 20-teens. And I'm just like, hold up. We've been using this for about 20-something years at this point. We don't even use that anymore. Remember when These Nuts was real popular too? And I was just like, hold up. I've been saying These Nuts since I was about like 6. Come on now.
Girl. It really does bother me to see it and how they want it so bad. And the thing is that these black men, they don't check them. They don't check their white friends that feel comfortable enough to say the N-word, and they don't check these white women that feel like that they can be black women on their off days and part time. You see what I'm saying? Like, they get up there and they fuck these white women and they get the pillow talking and telling them white women all this stuff that they want to hear and make them feel comfortable enough to get up in public. So remember, I was telling you about that viral TikTok video. So to preference, there was an episode on Cheaters where this black woman went on a date with a black man, and she had been dating him for a couple weeks, and unbeknownst to her, she found out that she had an inkling that he was cheating on her. So she contacted Cheaters. They did their background report and found out that he had 2 baby mamas. Think about it. 2 of them. You get what I'm saying? So his 2 baby mamas, one of them was a white woman, and the other one was a Hispanic woman, okay? So when they had their little come to Jesus meeting, their little powwow, whatever, she was just like, she handled the situation very well for anyone in this situation, regardless of their race. She was like, I don't want nothing to do with you. I'm not impressed. And she walked away from this situation. Now, these black men with these 2 non-black baby mamas, they started talking shit to her, and that's what I mean by the proximity of blackness. Now, this black woman was not being rude, argumentative, aggressive in any type of way, but because she was black and because those people felt intimidated by her, they felt the need to use derogatory language to tear her down. They was calling her rude, they was calling her ghetto bitches, all out of her name and shit, and they didn't start doing it until she walked away. And the only reason why they felt comfortable enough to do that is because that black man condoned that bullshit.
Yeah, so he had to have been telling her something. He had to have been telling them something about that, about her and about black women in general. See, I think that there are conversations that some interracial couples have where he will talk about his experience and he'll talk about, well, black women are this, black women are that, they're ghetto, they're hood rats, they're bulldogs. They don't know how to be submissive. They don't know how to cater to their man. They don't know how to do any of this.
Yep, that's me.
And it's like at that point, you're not in this relationship with her because you genuinely like her. You're in this relationship because you're traumatized.
You don't like black women.
You don't like black women, and this is a fetish.
Now, speaking of fetish, another reason that I believe that white women date black men is because of the hypersexualization of black men. And let's get into that BBC, boo. That's what I be telling my niggas on the weekend. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Oh boy.
So you go ahead and start about it. You can go ahead and divulge into the bulge.
Okay, so the BBC does not stand for the British Broadcasting Channel.
Go to hell.
In this case.
Big black cop.
But when we talk about that, then we talk about how since slavery, there has been this black men and black women, there are preconceived notions towards them, not of being hypersexual. There are other preconceived notions towards them of having a high pain tolerance, which is why, so many medical experiments were done on enslaved black women and men. And so in that regard, there is this fear from white men, or there was this fear. We don't know how, I can't make a case of how prevalent it is now, but there was a fear that black men, being as hypersexual as they were perceived to be, they would be going after white women.
Yeah. Or just in general.
Bigger costs. Yeah. And so, I mean, we can also make a case that fixation on black men was also quite homoerotic in nature, but that's a conversation for another day. But yes, so there is this preconceived notion, and I think that because that's also quite prevalent in society today, I think that there are a lot of white women who
hold on to that myth and stereotype and stigma.
Yeah, and they want to try it, and they're just like, well, they'll go for a white woman anyway, so boom, let's do it. And I saw this this post on social media, and we can also talk about leeway, right? Because the woman she was a white woman, she was a bigger woman, and then she pretty much in her post she alluded to the fact that this is why black men
like her.
You know,
she was made up like a KFC potato wedge. She was made up like a sack of laundry.
I wasn't gonna say that.
I did,
right? But you said it. But you know, I think that goes back to, you know, a lot of things that they criticize black women for. They'll like it in white women, or a lot of stuff that they attribute to black women, they have no, you know, and they see it as negative. They have no issues attributing it to white women because it would be, in many ways, it could be exotic.
What's exotic about a bitch made up like a sack of potatoes? Huh?
I don't know.
Me either.
But it might be exotic to them.
Wow. Anything fucking exotic to these niggas. Let me say this. The fetishization of black men is a form of prejudice, and the fetishization of black men has little to do with the individuals, but the individuals that represent according to mainstream stereotypes. So oftentimes black men are very much desired for their aggressiveness, their sexual prowl, and their explicit form of masculinity. But all of these fucking traits stem from colonial racism. Okay? So the reason why these white women with you is not because, for some, let me say this. For some, the reason why these white women are with you are not because you have beautiful brown eyes and she just love how you make her body shake. Okay, she with you because she has an idea, a fetishization of you in her mind that society has cultivated, and she wants to see if you're gonna line up with it. Okay, yeah, and that there is one of two reasons why I feel like white women date black men.
Situation expeditiously,
if not sooner. Let's divulge. Let's dive up in this bad boy. So question number 4 reads, do you believe that black women are angry at black men for dating interracially? Clear your throat.
No, I don't, because we are not angry that you date interracially. We are too busy trying to secure our futures, get a bag, take care of ourselves, get our hair done, our nails done. We're too busy living our best lives for us to be agitated. The only reason why we'd be agitated is if while you're in an interracial relationship, you're over here bashing black women.
I know that's right.
Stop bashing black women.
Leave us alone.
Right. If you are so happy in your interracial relationship, please be happy in your interracial relationship.
Silently.
Yes. Stop worrying about what we think.
Write her love letter. We don't want to hear about it. Y'all talk to each other about y'all love.
Right. Like we don't want to hear about it. We don't care.
I think this idea of black women being upset at black men for dating outside of their relationship comes from this idea of this mass exodus of black men leaving. So yes, black men are leaving the dating scene very quickly, but according to a 2015 Pew Research study, 75% of recently married black men are married to black women. In other words, black men who marry black women are the norm. They are the standard. And contrary to popular belief, that percentage is even higher for college-educated black men who earn more than $100,000 per year. Okay, so even though you love your white queen so much, with her lack of melanin, us black men dating black women still is normal. Okay, so it's not that different. It's not that exotic, and we don't give a damn. We feel very indifferent about it.
We do, and I think this is also something that we hadn't touched on either. So you touched on masculinity earlier. And so I think that the fact that black women as a demographic are highly successful in terms of entrepreneurship.
Number one in entrepreneurship. Number one in education.
In education, we are highly educated. I think that there's an issue there because I think it kind of messes with their ego a bit because they
get left behind.
Right, get left behind. They expect to be the breadwinner. They expect to be the leader. But it's like, well, you don't give me anything. So, so I think for some of the black men who date interracially, it's a matter of ego. So that's something that we need to talk about too. That there are a lot of black couples. There are a lot more black couples than than social media would have you think. But where was I going with that?
I don't know, but take your time.
Right. but I think we just got to focus on what? We just got to focus on the black love that is prevalent in our community. And I mean, they and if the wife and if the black woman makes more than her spouse, then I mean, they have to be comfortable with it, right?
And let me say this. And
this isn't like a dig towards, black men who happen to make less than their wife. What I'm saying is this: you are comfortable. You're comfortable with that. Like, you're okay with knowing that your wife makes more than you, knowing that your girlfriend or whatever makes more than you. You're comfortable with it because you guys are comfortable with the relationship. You guys, know that you contribute in some way, shape, or form, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, fine. I went off on a tangent there, but I mean, fine, so be it. I mean, it's not like, it's not like it'll stay that way forever, though, right?
I reckon.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, in some instances, you may wind up making more than her. You guys may be evened out, but at the end of the day, it's a stable household.
Yeah. I think that black women are starting to get to this point where they're really tired of hearing this narrative being pushed that everybody is so upset about them. Honestly, if they want to date white women, go date white women. Like, I don't think they care anymore. I don't even think black women are surprised anymore when we see another coon ass nigga with a white woman on their arm. I don't think that, because for one nigga out here that don't want us, it's a plethora, a slew, a battalion, a fleet of niggas of good, strong, educated, hard working men. Not just educated, the niggas with trades, the niggas that's floating drugs through these neighborhoods. There's a slew of them niggas out here waiting, dying to meet a black woman. So if these men do not want us, they can go wherever they feel like they want it. Because it's always going to be somebody here that was raised right.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I really don't feel like black women are upset. I think that we're tired of being brought up into this situation.
Yeah.
The big challenge I think that we as black women face is that we're socialized early on to look for a good black man, whereas black men or black boys are socialized to just look for a good woman. And a lot of these black mothers, again, force that narrative to find them a good woman in general, regardless of race. But you already know, if I bring me a white man home, I'm going to be out. I'm going to be homeless. My sister already told me not to bring no white man home.
Really? Interesting.
It's hilarious. And she going to laugh when she hear this.
That's funny, because my parents, my family actually wouldn't have an issue with it. They really wouldn't. They wouldn't. Now, one thing I can say is that my parents only thing they imparted on us was to be the best person that we can be.
Aww.
Because my mom has nothing, we have nothing but girls. I have nothing but sisters. I don't have a brother. And so growing up in a house full of girls, watching my mom, work her butt off. She has a master's, watching her and my dad and watching them, just build this 2-parent household. And they're just like, it's like, race is inconsequential when it comes to that. They just want for us to find somebody. If you do find somebody that you love, mm-hmm. and that will contribute to the household. Find somebody who Find somebody who has a blue collar job. Find somebody who's doing something, and keep it moving, keep it pushing. So I think that whole thing of like the coddling the sons and like parenting, raising the daughters, I think that plays a huge role. I think that plays a bigger role than I initially thought.
Yeah.
Up until having this conversation, I didn't realize how much of a role it played until we brought it up.
I do want to ask you this question. I've been hearing the argument like all over social media that it's time for Black women to start dating outside of their race. How do you feel about the idea of Black women going outside of what is socially normal and dating different races of men?
I think we're pretty race. I think as a whole we're pretty race loyal, right? Personally, because I'm like a love is love kind of person, and I'm just like love can be universal. I don't have an issue with it. Just like I don't have an issue with Black men dating outside the race. I don't have an issue with white women not white women. I don't have an issue with Black women dating inside their race. In fact, I would actively encourage it.
So what races of men would you actively encourage Black women to start outsourcing to? I think that is the question that most Black women probably would have surrounding this topic. Like, okay, yeah, niggas ain't shit. Niggas acting like they don't want to go to therapy. They don't want to change. So if I am, or if I were looking to go date outside of my race, what race would I approach? So, like, there's a study that says that, like, Black women are considered the least desirable in America, and on the opposite foot, Asian men are considered to be the least desirable in America. So some people suggest that Black women should start dating Asian men. And you know what? Now that I'm saying it out loud, the Asian community, especially in China, they love Black culture. Like, they idolize, worship Black culture over there, as well as the Chino movement, the Asian community. They love their culture as well over in China. But I just don't know if, for me personally, dating an Asian man is my forte. I don't know, but I don't think that's my calling. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's what the Lord called me to do with my life.
I mean, hey, different strokes for different folks. I mean, the thing I always say is this. If you happen to find somebody who is attractive, who is attracted to you, you're attracted to them, you guys, regardless of culture, you guys mesh together well. He does for you, you do for him. If you guys are compatible in most aspects of your life, and he makes you happy, go for it. If he happens to be from another race or another culture or another ethnicity, so be it.
Yeah, I think I want to meet me like a little island boy or something. I want to learn how to diss and wine. I do. I want, well, my ex, he was from Africa. He was from Yoruba, which is in Nigeria for the niggas that don't know. He was teaching me how to make jollof rice. And I was learning about the culture over there. I mean, it's some similarities to dating different Black men within the diaspora from dating African American men. But yeah, that's life, I guess. I don't know about dating other different races just because I haven't had too much exposure to different races and different races really don't show interest to me. And I think that has a lot to do with European beauty standards, as well as like the thinness to look appealing to different races of men. Like for a lot of times when you do see these interracial relationships, the Black women that are dating outside of their race, they are very close to whiteness. They're gonna be light skinned, very slim, actively working out and stuff. But it's very rare for me to see like a Black woman who is dark skinned or plus size dating outside of their race, because Black women are devalued by white standards of beauty and are forced with a shortage of available Black men and a lack of substantial opportunities in dating to date interracially. So I just think it's a lose-lose situation. So what we gonna do?
I wouldn't see it as a lose-lose situation.
I think a lot of bitches see it as a lose-lose situation.
I wouldn't. I think how we talked earlier about that one bad apple spoils the bunch or we talked about those preconceived notions. I don't think we should let that, I don't think we should let that, stop us. I mean, if it happens, let it happen,
I'm gonna reproduce naturally.
I mean, but I mean, yeah, I don't think that should stop us. And, quiet as it's kept, I think that there are a lot more non-black men who actually are attracted to black women, but because we're
do they got money?
Hey, possibly. But because we're seen as race loyal, then they think, if we approach a black woman, she's going to turn us down because she doesn't date outside of her race. So, I mean, I think that there are a lot of non-black men who are open to dating black women. I think that there are more than we realize.
My dating life is segregated. My dating life is colored only.
But I mean, but if you prefer black men, go ahead, go for it. My thing is, your preference is your preference. Now, granted, just because it's your just because you have a preference doesn't mean that you're their preference. But my thing is, if you find somebody who you are very compatible with, and you can see yourself going a distance with them, go ahead and do it. Do it. Don't let it stop you. Don't let it stop you.
Okay, Keith. So for the final question of the afternoon, what are the potential hazards of dating interracially that you believe that more people should be cautious about?
I think when you're dating interracially, one thing you need to be cognizant of is that not everyone that will support it, and you run the risk of losing some connections from that. Right.
Yeah, let's go deeper into that, because I think that is the main point, especially for the whiter side of things.
Mm-hmm.
That when white partners bring home black partners, they go through a lot. Many white partners weaponize their black partners against their black families, and some fail to denounce white supremacy and racism in front of their white families, and I think that really is the biggest problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I think people fail to realize, you got a white partner, but your white partner comes with a white family. And that just because your white partner loves you does not believe that you are going to be left out from the racism that follows suit.
Right. And on top of that, let's talk about, I'm not going to say internalized racism, but let's talk about running the risk of your partner actually also being quite racist themselves. So it could manifest, as one, this relationship isn't so much an interracial relationship, so much as it is a fetish for your partner. So we can, we're going to keep it a bit, we're not going to keep it, we're not going to keep it rated R. But, I'll just allude, or not even allude, I'll just say it. It'll manifest in stuff like race play. It'll manifest in stuff.
Let's talk about that. So, race play is something that I've been talking about so much in my day-to-day life. It's ridiculous. And essentially, for the niggas in the back that don't know what race play is, essentially it is a kink where one partner will assume the role of a enslaved person, and the other partner will assume the role of the master, or the old lady, or the mistress, or the concubine, and they will act out their sexual fantasies and involve race, and it will include rape. It will include like some form of like violence, sexual tension, as well as like just racism deeply steamed inside of their sexual romantic connection. And I find that very strange to turn someone on that they want to be like, slap me, massa. I'm so sorry, Big Daddy. I didn't pick all the cotton out the field.
Yeah, no.
No, so don't beat me. Beat that pussy up. I don't know. What do they say in those situations? Like, how do you get there?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. And I think that goes back, I think it'll go back to the fetish thing where, the partner will have, they want to act out those racial stereotypes in the bed. And I'm just like, that's not cute.
It's not cute.
And I mean, I'm not king shaming. Okay, I'll king shame race.
I will king shame.
I'll king shame race place. For the most part, I'm not. I don't like the king shame. That's one thing that I'll king shame.
The example of race play can be seen with Doja Cat in those chat rooms. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. I think she has a lot of internalized racism, and that also comes from the fact that her father, who I heard was a noted singer himself, like he's a musician himself, he wasn't present in her life.
Nah, her mama white, and she going through a Britney Spears moment. The baby done shaved all her head off.
She looks
her hair off. I mean, she got a pretty face. Of course she gonna look bad, but that don't mean that ain't no cry for help. And honestly, like that. While we're on the topic of fetishization, we can talk about the fetishization of mixed children, and that is another potential harm that comes to fruition when it comes to these interracial relationships, because the white partners, they want mixed children so bad, but they want the idealistic version of those mixed children. They have the beautiful 2C, 2B hair with the luscious locks, the beautiful light colored eyes, the nice skin color. Like, that is what they fetishize and they want. But they get let down when genetics does their due diligence, and your child come out dark skinned with 4C hair, and she plus size and she looks nothing like you. Then what you gonna do? So with this fetishization of mixed children, and I swear I'm never gonna get that word right, you also have to highlight that when they do bring in these mixed race children, another potential harm is the fact that these white women fail to educate themselves on how to properly take care of these black children. And then we can go even further and say that some of these white women have hidden racial biases against their black children.
Which also confuses me, because I'm like, well, there's going to be that 50-50 chance that your child comes out looking more like black, right? My question is, and it's not just for them, not just for the white women who do this, but also for the black men who do this too, expecting their child to look as white as possible. If you know that certain characteristics that you don't particularly like, which I think is horrible, okay? But if you know that there are certain characteristics that you don't like, or if you don't want your child looking a certain way, why would you sleep with the people who has the features that you don't want your child to have?
And risk it.
And then on top of that, not only is that very much racist and colorist, and then, is featurist even a word? But if it's not, we're going to use it in this context, right? But you also pass that on to the child. So not only are you projecting your racism onto the child, now the child has internalized that racism, and now they become self-hating, which makes and now all of a sudden they just don't like they don't like black people, they don't like black culture, they try to separate themselves from it, and I'm just like, that's just horrible. That's just a cycle of hatred that needs to stop.
I really hate the fact. I hate it for those mixed race children whose parents, white mothers in particular, have internalized racism, because they really do. They be screaming out racial slurs to them babies, and I hate that. You know what type of pain it is? I can only imagine what type of pain one would feel if their mother got mad at them and called them the N-word to their face. Like, how would you even navigate this situation? Like,
or they'll be like, "You're just like your father," and I'm just like, hold up. Your child didn't. You made the executive decision to open your legs and procreate with that man and bring that child into the world. Don't let the child suffer because the relationship with the father isn't that great, or what have you, or you just have some internalized racism that just clouds your judgment of the father, and then you project that onto the child. Now, I just think that that's horrible all around, and I don't get it. I don't understand.
It ain't nothing to get.
And my thing is, don't see your child as this or that. Your child's biracial. Your child comes from two different races. Your child you should see your child as the best of both worlds. Allow them to experience this side,
their white culture, as well as their black culture, equally.
Allow them to experience the white culture, the white side, and their black side. And you leave it up to them as to what they want to align themselves with.
I also bring it back to that whole concept of like the not being able to take care of child's black hygiene. Another thing I really hate to see is how these white parents really don't know how to take care of black hair. And I also want to give a special shout out to this white mom who does have a mixed child, and she's on TikTok and she manages her daughter's black hair so well. And she like does positive affirmations with her daughter every day in the mirror, so that she learns to love and appreciate her black skin and her black hair. And her daughter is powerful at the age of 5, got more confidence than most 35-year-old women walking around here. But what's sad is the fact that number one, socially, white women are socialized to take majority of the responsibility when it comes to knowing the most, when it comes to like the race and the racial issues within their relationship. But many of them fail to educate themselves when it comes to those situations. And it's just really disturbing. It's disturbing to see white mothers go out and perm their baby's hair, or seeing black fathers leave their child in the care of their white grandmothers, and they like take out all their black box braids and perm their hair, damage their hair, not knowing what they doing, and like damaging them both physically and psychologically. It's so harmful. And lastly, I want to talk about how a lot of these white women really don't protect their mixed race children from the racism that happens within the household. Like, and I think that's the most scarring, because it's so normalized. I don't think that they see the issues that they're so like desensitized from, and then they bring in their black children and they don't protect them from what me, Ma, and Peepaw saying, when they get drunk off their moonshine, calling them jigaboos and porch monkeys and midnight crickets and whatnot. Like they don't care. There's so many potential hazards when it comes to dating, and I think overall it boils down to the fact that neither one of your partners will never truly understand what it is to be black. Like they will never, they could understand it theoretically, they can read about it, but they will never fully be able to understand it because they have never lived the life as a black person. So they'll never be able to relate. And if you don't have that like understanding of culture and like social hierarchy and socialness within the black community, you're going to be lost. You're going to be far behind from the jump.
Right. So yeah, culture clash. Right. Yeah. So, but I also think that's where communication comes in. Like, you need to have these conversations with your partner. You need to have those conversations with your partner, but you also have to be open and willing to confront your racial bias.
Yes.
Now, granted, I think everybody harbors some prejudiced notions about other people, right? Or just about a group of people. Yeah. So I think everybody harbors prejudiced notions. I think that when you're in an interracial relationship and children come into that relationship and children are brought into that relationship, you have to be willing to have that conversation, that hard conversation with your partner. And you also have to be willing to open up and receive that conversation.
As well as willing to do the work.
And as well as willing to do the work to not only make the environment, not only to combat your prejudice, but to make sure that you don't project that onto your child, and to make sure that your child transitions, has a safe transition into whatever, right? And they have that safe space in their house. There is nothing more disheartening than seeing biracial or mixed race children talk about the racism that they endured.
Yeah, and it's its own little section, little corner of sectionality, because I hate it, and I don't feel like there's enough representation of them, enough literature written about their shared experiences, because that even historically, just the phrase mulatto by itself has such a negative connotation to it, and like the burdens that their group of people walk around with. Yeah, I hate that for them.
Yeah, and I think that, well, I just think that in like stuff like I think the one drop rule is the worst thing that could have ever come into the Black community. I think it's just one of the worst things that ever could, because we're constantly having these questions. We're constantly having these debates on what is Blackness? How do we gatekeep Blackness? How do we determine who is Black, who is white, who is this, who is that?
And you can't, because it's all a social construct. It's all a social construct. It was made up. So you can't keep all of it. But if you are going to date outside of your race, at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you are picking a partner who is open-minded, who is willing to evolve, who is willing to stick it out through the rough punches and go the extra mile to educate themselves, to condemn white racism with their friends, in their homes, with their families. And Black men, y'all need to be making sure that y'all stepping up if this is what you're going to do. Like, if you're going to date a white woman, make sure that you're doing your due diligence. You need to be in the house too, because it's going to be your responsibility to raise that Black person, making sure that they have access to the Black community and they understand their culture and their heritage. So the whole purpose of this interview is just to remind people to be mindful while you're dating, especially interracially.
And we're just going to throw out this disclaimer here. No, we are not bashing people who are in interracial relationships, okay? This isn't a dig against Black men who choose not to date Black women. This is not a dig against Black women who choose not to date Black men. All we're saying is that we don't care what you do. We just want you to stop bringing Black women into it.
And that's the word.
That's all. We want you to be happy. Love is love. Not everybody is your cup of tea, and that's normal, right?
Yeah.
But when you're in an interracial relationship, it's you and your partner. Stop bashing Black women. Stop fetishizing
Black bodies.
Black bodies. Stop fetishizing your partner who is non-Black, and just love them for them. Understand that you're gonna run into some obstacles dating them, but if you are willing to brave that, if you're doing that because you genuinely love your partner, then by all means, do it. Do it.
I don't think children should be separated from their parents. If a child can grow up in a home with both parents, they should be allowed to grow up in a home with both parents. So you brothers out there who got the snow bunny crisis, stay in that house. Yes, stay in that house with those children. Because if you got a white woman giving birth to your babies, if you got a snow bunny giving birth to your babies, if you leave that white woman, 9 times out of 10, she's going to get a white man or a super coon to take your place. 9 times out of 10, she's going to get a white woman or a super coon to take your place. And you don't want a super coon. You already cooned out yourself by getting a snow bunny in the first place. You already cooned out yourself by getting a snow bunny in the first place. You don't need to replace yourself with a super coon or a white man. That's how I don't see how y'all can have a baby with a white woman. It's one thing to have a Black man who doesn't stand for what you stand for raising your kids, but to have a white man raising Black children, to have a white man raising your children, oh my goodness. Kanye broke up with Kim. Kim dating a white man. Well, it's Kanye dating a white girl too. But she gonna have white men around his daughters? Nah. No. A white man around my daughter? No. Stop the snow bunny crisis.
Shout out to the slaves.
Yeah, shout out to the slaves. You feel me? Shout out to Harriet Tubman.
Shout out to her. She's a real nigga.
Shout out to the real niggas.
And shout out again to all those people who hate my guts.
Y'all are doing a justice and an effort to the world. Keep breaking these men down one at a time.
You are obsessed and sick.
And now it's time for my favorite segment. And around these parts, we call it the Big Black Shout Out. Alright, so the Big Black Shout Out is an opportunity to help cultivate the Black dollar back into our communities and for audience members to explore Black-owned hidden gems. So, Key, who would you like to shout out today?
So I am shouting out these two Black-owned businesses. I found them through Etsy. So the first one is Glasswing Organic, and the second one is Betty Body Butters. Now I have become more invested in self-care. I've become more invested in using more natural products to nourish my skin. And so I have become a huge fan of body butters. So I've started using body butters, and I've never felt so moisturized before in my life. And so I use Glasswing Organic, and one of the first things I purchased was the rose infused body oil, because I just love the smell of roses. I love smelling delectable. I love smelling delicious. And it is what it is, right? And so I also purchased their Essence of an Empress Royal Body Butter, and I love that too. So I smelled and I felt like an empress, okay?
As you fucking should, queen.
Yes, I felt like an empress. I still feel like an empress. And so for Betty Body Butters, I love her oatmeal milk and honey body butter, and I especially purchased it during the winter months. So I felt like an entire snack. I felt like a huge
that's what
bowl.
we gonna tell them niggas. We gonna say, come to the land of milk and honey.
Come to the land of milk and honey. I felt like a gigantic bowl of oatmeal with some brown sugar in it, okay? So I encourage you guys to check out Glasswing Organic. She does have her own website, glasswingorganics.com. And you can also find her on Etsy. And I also encourage you to check out Betty Body Butter. She has a multitude of scents. I just like the oatmeal milk and honey, okay? So I encourage you guys to check her out, and smell delectable, smell delicious.
Yes.
Embrace your inner emperor, empress, okay? Yes. Love that rose. I love self-care, and that's one thing that I will, always encourage folks to do, especially my brethren and sisters. Invest in you some good self-care items and go with God.
Yes. Amen. So shout out to those two Black-owned companies. And while we on this note, I want to send a special shout out to the big bitches that smell good every single day. You women are doing the Lord's work, right? Walking around here, ending generational curses, breaking negative stigmas, and proving to the world that big bitches, in fact, do smell delectable, lovely, and delicious. All right, amen. Now, if there are any other businesses that you have that you would like for me to personally shout out, make sure that you are emailing me at the afrocentricpodcast@gmail.com, as well as sending me messages on our Instagram and TikTok.
Please forgive me for any sins in which I committed, those I know of and those I don't know of, Lord. Lord, please forgive me for beating this bitch ass today, Lord. Lord, please forgive me for thinking about beating her ass again, Lord. Please rebuke all these demons that's in this house, Lord. I pray unto you, Lord. Is that really necessary?
All right, brethren and sisterin. Now it's time for the final segment of any podcast episode. And I like to call this one and I'm just here to remind you people that that the Lord is still here, and I wanted to let y'all know that I'm yet praying and fasting and interceding on your behalf. So our call is an opportunity for listeners to DM prayer requests for groups of people, politicians, relationships, and etc. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you the most honorable Brother Deacon J.J. James Jr. Amen. He has sent in a slew of prayer requests. So I'm asking that you all join me, please. Knees bowed and body bent before thy throne of grace. Brother J.J., here's the mic. You let the Lord use you.
Girl, we need to pay for my stupid ass manager who think just because she made $2 more than the rest of us that she's above. When in actuality, bitch, you're still on the same level. Let's also pray for the people who were mad that we don't give a fuck about that evil old wrinkly dusty booty ass bitch Queen Elizabeth that didn't go on to glory, she went on to hell. We're gonna pray for them because you're still brainwashed and you're still mentally enslaved, because we don't give a fuck, and neither should you. We're gonna pray for all the SWAC teams who went out there and played these primarily white institutes this last week or two, and they all got their ass whooped. Y'all did good, but yeah, don't do that no more. And also, lastly on the prayer and the sick and shut in list, let's pray for all the employees from fucking Zeus Network, because child, they just need prayer. They need grandma, they need great grandma prayer, because Lord knows, child.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, Honorable Brother Deacon JJ Moore. I too am praying for the Zeus security guards down there. They on them shows, they fighting for their life. So I'm asking God for a hedge of protection over them, lest they dash their foot against the stone. Amen. All right. So the next sister that's requiring for a prayer is the sister Adriana Harper, who said, "Pray for me, dear brethren and sister." She said the naval ship was whooping her ass. And my question to you, dear sister, is I thought that it was a hot girl summer, and I thought you wanted to drive the boat, and now you want to get off the boat. And I think that's quite interesting. So I'm praying for you in marine time as you are entering submarines and lifeboats and little canoes and swimming in canals. Amen. All right. So the next brother in line who is asking for a prayer is Brother Xavier, who is coming before the throne of God, asking for clear skin to finish his degree and for a long life for his family. And I say, yes, have your will in here today, Lord. Next, Sister Jessica is asking for a prayer for her first day back in the gym. Yes, I'm praying for fat asses for all the ladies of the congregation, because what the prayer say, as on earth as it is in heaven. And he said he would open the floodgates, and he said that he would flood you with so many blessings that you wouldn't have no room to receive. So I'm praying for so much ass that you ain't got no room to walk around with it, okay? And that's in Jesus' name. Now, lastly, Sister Shemaya has come to the congregation. She said, pray for her. She would like a prayer for new beginnings and an increase on her hair business. And right now, I'm praying for increase. Move, Holy Ghost. Yes, move, Spirit. Move, 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 move. Everybody up under my voice, y'all be blessed. Now, I'd like to thank y'all so much for praying with us today. Yes. We will also be selling a round of Girl Scout cookies for the community field trip. We will be going to go see the Passion of the Christ for Halloween. Remember, Halloween is the devil's birthday, so we going to get everybody's life together. All right. Now, y'all stay blessed. Amen. All right, you guys. So, first, I wanted to take the time to thank Key so much for coming in. You guys don't know this, but this is literally the second time that we've recorded this episode. We wanted to get this shit right for y'all. So thank you, Key, so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, child.
So, is there anything that you would like to tell the Black community before we go?
Okay, I'm going to reiterate this. We as Black women do not care because we are too busy living our best lives. On top of that, love is love. Stop fetishizing and just love your partner.
This is beautiful, Kitty. I love you.
Oh, thank you. I love you too, girl. I love you too. My thing is, just live your best life. Find a business that pays you, and secure that those bags.
Yes.
Create generational wealth.
Yes.
And just live your best life. Live your best unbothered
I'm living my best life.
That's what I'm talking about.
I ain't going back and forth with you niggas.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And understand if you are compatible with your partner, regardless of whatever obstacles you guys are going through, and you guys are willing to brave it out, I love that for you. Just do it. Just do the damn thing. Do the damn thing and live your best life. Yes.
As it is so.
Yes.
Thank you so much for those very beautiful and passionate words, Key. And as for you listeners, I would like to thank you all so much for choosing to be Afrocentric today. Please remember, Black Lives Matter. Listen and protect Black women. And the only thing that you must do in this lifetime is be Black and die. And remember, we're just civilized people having civilized conversations. Bye-bye.
And what I need you coons to understand, Black, is the only white woman you get, the only Chinese woman you get, the only Latino woman you get, the only Arab you get, the only East Indian you get, the only Mediterranean you get, the only Italian you get, the only Anglo-Saxon, the only Korean, the only
them too.
The only Japanese women
them
you get
too
are the ones that their men did not want. You get the leftovers. You never get properties.
Say it ain't so, bro. Yo, say it ain't so, bro. Is that leftover?